Welcome friends. So, now we are coming to the end of week 6 and in last 5 weeks and in this 6th week we have discussed various principles of Toyota Production System. We discussed about lean manufacturing, we discussed about agile manufacturing, we discussed about sustainable manufacturing, some of the important concepts related to sustainable manufacturing like what is life cycle assessment, what is life cycle costing, and then in our previous session we discussed about flexible manufacturing systems. And we discussed these things that there is a strong synergy in all these concepts, that these concepts, all these things are talking, making your organization efficient as well as effective. When you are following the concept of efficiency, you are becoming lean organization, because to have efficiency you need to eliminate waste from the organization, and when you want to become effective organization you have to follow the concepts of agile manufacturing and flexible system manufacturing. And therefore, organizations want to become lean, agile, sustainable, flexible, all these things simultaneously, because you can actually capitalize on one another. If you start these exercises as independent exercises, then probably you may not be able to understand that how these things are related to each other. But when you do all these things as part of a single package, then you understand that no, all these things are related to one another, and therefore, we discuss all those concepts in a sequence one after another, so that you can understand, you can appreciate the synergy between these concepts. Now, in one of the discussions when we were discussing about Toyota Production System and then lean manufacturing, we mentioned that we need to eliminate waste. We mentioned that defects are waste and we need to eliminate those defects. Over processing is a defect, we need to eliminate that. Waiting is a defect, we need to eliminate that. Overproduction is a defect, we need to eliminate that. So, we discussed various types of defects, and we also discussed that by having some kind of countermeasures we will eliminate all these kind of defects. But how much of those defects, how much of those wastes can be eliminated? Can I achieve 0 defect? Can I achieve 0 inventory? Can I achieve 0 overproduction? All these things are only possible when I know what is the standard available in these things. And therefore, in this particular session we are going to discuss that what are the standards available for these things, and therefore, the title of this session is benchmarking, that we will see that what is happening best in class with respect to that particular parameter. Right now, just to give you an example, US economy is around $18 trillion economy, and that is the largest economy in the world. So, that becomes a kind of benchmark for all other nations, that if US can achieve that level of economy, why can't India, why can't China, why can't some other nation can achieve that level of economy. So, that is a very simple example to understand the benchmarking. You are studying in a class and one of your friend, he is able to score 100 out of 100 in mathematics. So, that becomes a benchmark that we can score 100% mark in this particular subject. So, for others also it becomes a kind of yardstick that yes, 100 out of 100 is possible in this subject. Like in subjects like Hindi, it is very difficult to score out of 100 70 marks. So, nobody talks of benchmark of getting 100 out of 100 in Hindi. You can talk of getting 100 out of 100 in science, You can talk of getting 100 out of 100 in mathematics, but you will not speak getting 100 out of 100 in subjects like drawing. You will never speak 100 out of 100 in subjects like English literature, Hindi literature. Why? All these things are because of benchmarking, that you know that the best in class is able to achieve this much. So, this is what is doable. You talk of 100-meter race, another very interesting example. In 100-meter race, what is the world record? What is the Olympic record? And based on that, that becomes our first benchmark. If I am aspiring at my school level, so my first benchmark is what is the best performance in my school till date. If I have crossed that, then I may go to the state level performance, then I go for the national level performance, and if I am representing my country, then I see what is the benchmark at the international level. So, that is how we keep on improving our performance, and therefore, benchmarking is a tool for continuous improvement. It is a very important tool for continuous improvement. Once you have a measurable target, then only you can achieve that. If you do not have any measurable target, it is very difficult to improve. So, therefore, benchmarking is more like a quantitative assessment of your performance, and when you have this quantitative assessment of your performance, it will help you in improving the performance further. So, now what is this benchmarking framework and some definition of benchmarking. So, benchmarking is the process of measuring an organization's internal processes, then identifying, understanding and adapting outstanding practices from other organizations considered to be best in class. So, best in class or world class, you can use any word, but the meaning is that you compare your performance with one who is considered to be best, and therefore, this concept of benchmarking comes into. You are Virat Kohli, you are Sachin Tendulkar, and then how many points you have earned in the ranking. Based on that, you can benchmark your performance, that if Virat Kohli at number 1 scores these many points in the ranking, where am I? So, that you can see that this is the gap between me and that player, and therefore, we need to work to fulfill that gap. So, that is how it helps in our improvement activity. So, if I see this benchmarking framework, what is our performance level and how do we do it? So, what is our performance level? That is one aspect, that is the introspection, reflection, and what are other performance level? How did they get there? Then this is me, this is best in class. So, these are two things, two input I require, and based on that I may adapt those things, because how did they get there. So, if it is doable that I can adopt their activities in toto, I may adapt, but we use a careful word, that is creative adaptation. The creative adaptation means that I have to customize their processes so that these processes can suit my requirement. If Chinese companies can go for cost of production of a particular product, let us say 10 rupees per unit, I am producing that product at the rate of 15 rupees per product. Now, that low cost becomes benchmark for me, and then I see that how could they achieve that low cost. Now, many things are there that I cannot copy in my organization, I cannot copy in my country because of different kind of legal regulatory frameworks. So, therefore, we need to go for this creative adaptation, where we see that how we can develop the process for our organization, and then we develop a breakthrough performance, we start improving our organization. So, right now I am producing at 15 per unit, Chinese company produces at 10 per unit. and when I do this creative adaptation, so this breakthrough performance resulted into 12 rupees 50 paisa per unit. I am able to reduce my costing by 2 rupees 50 paisa. Again I will do this exercise, and maybe at that time I will further reduce my cost by 1 rupee. So, therefore, this benchmarking will help us in making some kind of breakthrough performance. So, why to do benchmarking? Now, to have this benchmarking, what is the reason? As already you have understood now that to obtain an external perspective of what is possible, what best people have achieved, what is the most doable thing, that is only possible to understand when you have some kind of external perspective, and that benchmarking gives you. The second is to assist in setting strategic targets. So, to have the specific targets, goals, you do this kind of benchmarking activities. To promote improvements in the performance, time and again we discuss this issue. To establish a competitive edge, because you are now continuously improving your processes, not only processes but products, their performances, the green behavior of the products. So, you can do benchmarking with respect to any aspect, and therefore, whichever aspect you do, that is going to lead you to provide some kind of competitiveness. So, that is another important reason that why should we go for benchmarking. With this you obviously achieve, because you are offering better competitive products. So, it will help in improving the customer satisfaction. It will reduce the cost, we just discussed with the help of this example. To improve employee morale, another very interesting thing which benchmarking does, because of benchmarking you becomes a learning organization. It is very important to understand that when you are continuously benchmark your performance with respect to best people, so you are doing two things. One, you are studying your problems, and at the same time you are studying what is happening in the best organizations, their processes, their KPIs you are understanding, and therefore, this will help organization, this will help the people of the organization, this will help the partner of your organization to know what are the best practices. So, when we are exposed to new knowledge, our learning quotient increases, and that is keeping the employee morale higher. So, we want to learn every time, and human being loves learning, and therefore, if your organization can provide learning opportunities, we discussed in Toyota Production System principles that each error is an opportunity of learning. You learn from your errors, but here we say that even benchmarking is also an opportunity of learning. When you see that what other people are doing, when we see commentary on television, when we see that somebody has done some exceptional work, there are many things which you can learn from them, and it is not simply knowing the story, but it is more important to learn from them. And since we have this external perspective in benchmarking, so this external perspective helps us in learning, and your organization may become a learning organization because of this particular aspect. And then it is not so important, but it is also there. Nowadays organizations look for having new quality awards, Deming Prize, the prize of Golden Peacock, the prize of NBNQA. So, all these are becoming very prestigious things in the corporate success. So, to achieve the quality awards, benchmarking may help you for that particular issue also. Now, when to benchmark? So, why to benchmark? We discussed. Now, when to benchmark? When to benchmark means what are the ideal conditions for benchmarking? If the company's quality management system, QMS stands for quality management system, is not properly developed, documented and implemented. because the objective of QMS is also very much similar to benchmarking. So, in QMS you give a detailed description about your various quality standards you are going to follow. You give detailed description about your processes, and the idea behind quality management system is that you will continuously improve your QMS, you will continuously improve your standards. So, therefore, it is a tool for continuous improvement. So, if that QMS is not properly available in your organization, you can use benchmarking for your help. And then when companies strength, weakness, opportunities, these things are not properly measured. When these things are not properly measured, then also you need to go for benchmarking. If you know exactly where I am standing, what are my good points, what are my weak points, then certainly you can improve on your weak points. But when you do not know, many a times when we do not have any external perspective, we feel that we are the best, but we know that there is so many mythological stories that you will always find a better person than you, and therefore these things, when you are not able to assess your properly strength, weaknesses, these things, then benchmarking is a very usable tool. Then if customer needs are also not properly assessed and rectified, so these things are with respect to your company, but many a time there are companies which are able to understand the needs of the customer in a better way. So, if you are not able to understand, if you are not able to take corrective actions on the needs of the customer, then also you will have to go for benchmarking, that how other companies are doing it, how they are able to predict better forecast. Those things are becoming, you can say that, essential requirements for the benchmarking. Then where it is used, benchmarking, where it is used, benchmarking is used not only in manufacturing, but it is also used extensively in the service organizations. Some of the notable names like Xerox, AT&T, Motorola, Ford, Toyota, these are the companies pioneered the use of benchmarking, and all these companies we know are one of the top companies in their own field in the world. So, there is a requirement for large number of Indian organizations to go for benchmarking. We are living presently in LPG era, liberalization, privatization, globalization era. So, when we are living in LPG era, we are directly competing with all these global players. So, unless until you properly benchmark your organizations with best in class organizations, then only you can improve or grow. So, it is also important to discuss benchmarking in the context of total quality management, TQM, that is total quality management. Now, TQM principles, what are the TQM principles? Let us quickly go through them. That comparisons with best practice, that what are the best practices available, and that is what we do in case of benchmarking also. A strong emphasis on meeting the needs of the customer, internal as well as external. Internal customers, mostly your employees, etc., they are your internal customer, and external customer means who is going to finally consume the product. So, you need to fulfill the needs of your internal as well as external customers. That is what TQM says. The importance of efficient, effective business process. You should have a low cost and usability. These are both things which are required in a TQM environment. The need for continuous improvement, Kaizen, and you need to have the enhancement of TQM program. Enhancement of TQM program, because the literature of TQM says that it is a philosophy, and you need to develop that kind of organization, that kind of setup where you can propagate this philosophy that how to build quality into your processes. So, that is you need to go for enhancement of TQM culture in the organization. Now, let us quickly see what are the levels of benchmarking in the competitive environment. Now, there are 4 levels of benchmarking. Now, the first level, which is very simple to understand, that is the internal benchmarking within your own organization. If I am talking of IIT Roorkee, so there is a department of mechanical engineering, there is a department of civil engineering, department of electrical engineering. So, we can do benchmarking of one department with another department. So, that is internal benchmarking, that is one level of benchmarking. The second is competitive benchmarking, analyzes the performance and practices of best in class companies. So, when I am IIT Roorkee, if I start comparing the performance of IIT Roorkee with MIT, with Stanford, that is a kind of competitive benchmarking. How many papers a faculty is publishing in Harvard and how many papers a faculty is publishing at IIT Roorkee per year in top ranking journals. So, that is one parameter of competitive benchmarking. Then third is non-competitive benchmarking. It is learning something about a process a company wants to improve by benchmarking. For an example, there is a Six Sigma which is developed by auto company, which is practiced in manufacturing organizations. Now, how can I implement that Six Sigma to improve the performance of IIT Roorkee? Maybe in my hostels, when every day there is a lunch time or to have the dinner time, to minimize the waste of wrongly cooked food, I want to apply Six Sigma. So, that is something like non-competitive benchmarking, because you are using some technology which is being developed by some other industry which is not in your direct competition. So, that is the non-competitive benchmarking. And then world class benchmarking, ambitious and looking towards recognized leaders. I want to become like a Toyota company. They have championed the art of manufacturing. Before Toyota, everybody was looking to become like Ford company. So, when in totality we want to imitate, we want that this is a leader kind of organization. Maybe I am into education sector, but I think that IIT should be like Apple, where employees have freedom, where lot of innovativeness is there, lot of flexibility is there. So, that is an idea of world class benchmarking. So, it is not necessary that world class are available in your own industry, they may be in any industry, but you want to imitate them because there are some very ambitious things in those organizations. Like if I talk IIT Roorkee and then I take an example which is totally from a different field, that is the market in the space. Now, a company known as SpaceX that has captured around 50% of the market of launching the satellites. In India, company like ISRO, which we consider as a world class organization, has a very minimal share in the space market. But SpaceX, which is just 10-11 years old company, has tremendous more than 50% of the market share in the satellite launching. Now, can we understand, can we apply what SpaceX has done uniquely to grow such fast, and it is a private organization. So, therefore, some of the things can be considered and we can imitate those things into our organization, that is known as world class benchmarking, that the way they are moving, the progress path they are following, how they are able to attract new customers, new markets, and becoming a world leader in their own field. That is actually the world class benchmarking. Now, benchmarking methodologies, if we talk, so there is a you can say best practice overlap here, and that best practice overlap says that we have competitive benchmarking, internal benchmarking, and functional benchmarking. So, first we start with the help of functional benchmarking. So, in that let us say the energy consumption is one particular thing. Now, for making my product, what is the energy consumption per unit, and for making your product, what is the energy consumption per product. So, we do this kind of comparison, and please remember that it may be from different industries also. So, for the same function, different industries may be involved, and we do this kind of comparison across industries. Then internal is we see within the company which particular department, which particular activity is creating a benchmark, is becoming a something milestone which can be imitated by others. And then competitive benchmarking, that is the industry leaders, that we already discussed that some organizations in a particular industry are becoming the leader in their own field, and there are some organizations which are known as world class, they have in totality everything to the best. So, that is competitive benchmarking. So, these are the different methodologies, and here you see that there is a overlap also, and it is where we all want to go, that you should be able to functional benchmarking, you should go for internal benchmarking, and you should be able to have competitive benchmarking, but it is not so easy to go into that common zone. So, the types of benchmarking are, one is performance or operational benchmarking. It involves pricing, technical quality, features, and other quality. So, that is you can say the benchmarking at a lower level. Then the second level of benchmarking is the process or functional benchmarking. It involves processes such as billing, order entry, or employee training, etc. It is also a relatively lower level of benchmarking. Then the most important, or rather the higher level of benchmarking, is strategic benchmarking. It examines how companies compute and seeks the winning strategies that have led to competitive advantage and market success. So, how, what are those specific things, like the uses of data for voice communication also by Jio is an example of strategic benchmarking, because they only followed that they gave data to their customers and data was used for your voice communication also. So, this became a very unique competitive example, and now they have created a benchmark in that, and with that benchmark other companies will also try to imitate them, that can we also shift our entire mobile operations from voice to data, and through data only we are able to do these things. So, strategic benchmarking are a higher level activity, performance and process benchmarkings are relatively lower level benchmarking. Now, the slide can explain you different areas of benchmarking. In different areas of benchmarking, like in operational strategies, inventory management is one very important thing, where we talk of inventory turn. We have companies like Walmart, which is known for highest level of inventory turn, and that people say is reason of their tremendous success, that they are able to achieve around 11 to 12 inventory turns in a year, and their competitors are able to achieve only 5 to 6 inventory turns in a year. Therefore, they are able to move their cash cycles very fast, and that is precisely one reason of their success. You can benchmark your supply chain activities, you can benchmark HR, you can benchmark marketing. The point is that benchmarking is possible in all functional areas. It is not limited only to production or operation activities. We just saw that it is applicable everywhere. Now, how to do benchmarking? We discussed one framework of benchmarking, that we require inputs from two sides. One, where are we and how do we get here, and the second is where is the best in class people and how did they get there, and on the basis of that we go for benchmarking activities. Now, for the implementation purpose of benchmarking, you can have this 5 phase you can say methodology of benchmarking. One is planning, analysis, integration, action and maturity. Now, you have to identify product, service, process which needs to be benchmarked. Then do the analysis, determine the gap between the firm's current performance and that of the firm's benchmarked, and identify the causes of significant gaps. That you identify which thing to be benchmarked and then you identify gap. So, this is what is to be benchmarked. Then the second thing is you identify gap between your performance and the performance of your best in class company. Then integration, establish goals and obtain the support of managers who must provide the resources for accomplishing the goals. So, now this exercise you did, but without involving others you cannot go for implementation of this benchmarking research. So, that is the third level of activity, that you start developing your team and then take action, team assignments, implement the plans, monitor progress, recalibrate benchmark as improvements are made. So, you need to see that with this exercise how much improvement you have done. And finally, leadership position attended, best practices fully integrated into the process. So, once these best practices are fully implemented into the system, that means the maturity of your benchmarking. But every time you will have new processes, new products to be benchmarked, therefore, we go for continuous improvement using the concept of benchmarking. And this is the simple way of just what we said, that what is to be benchmarked, need to select the companies, identify data, collect the information, and on the basis of that identify the gaps and form your action plan, and then you have to recalibrate. Recalibrate means just to have a feedback that where have we reached, and again start the process, and this is how benchmarking keeps on going. So, that is what we have just discussed, this 7 step process of benchmarking and factors for success of benchmarking. That if we see that benchmarking must have the full support of senior management and they should be actively involved with this process. So, without top management nothing is possible. We discussed this in the TQM also. So, top management commitment is very much necessary. Teams and process training is very important because of integration. If we see in our 5 phase system of benchmarking implementation, third is integration, and that integration is only possible when you have a well designed cohesive team. Benchmarking is a team activity, it is ongoing process. You benchmark today something, tomorrow you have to benchmark something else. So, therefore, it leads to continuous improvement. Benchmarking efforts must be organized, planned and carefully managed. Correct use of benchmarking can lead you to the competitive edge in today's business marketplace. So, finally, we see that benchmarking is something which can take you to the competitive advantage, and with the help of benchmarking you are able to understand that what is the ultimate level of progress, what is the ultimate level of achievement which is possible with these initiatives. So, in the line of lean manufacturing we also need to club this benchmarking discussion, that we should know that what are the targets in front of us, and we should be able to working for achieving those targets, because without targets it is very difficult to move into air. So, therefore, benchmarking discussion becomes very important. Thank you very much.